Ooh, girl, I got so much to say about cults. I have a lot of feelings about cults, both from personal experience and because, as I mentioned, I am an armchair psychologist. I have a lot of armchair opinions about it, but I do have personal experience with a cult. Not they didn't get me, but it was amazingly close. I had an internship with this company, a small company, right out of college. I applied for this company and somehow got in. And this company was involved with this sort of self improvement, self help organization. And basically, the company was sort of like a way to segue people into the organization. So first you'd be working at the company and then they'd have you like doing some work for this organization, and then you'd be volunteering for the organization, then you'd be taking classes with the organization and paying them absurd amounts of money for you to like live your best life and all that crap. So and this organization had some very strange ways of like methods of group building and personal improvement and stuff. And so they would institute those methods at the company. So even if you had nothing to do with the organization, you were definitely going to get an experience of those methods at the company. And one of the things they did was on Fridays, they would have everyone in the organization, or not the organization, but the company would, you would sit in a circle. They'd have chairs in a circle and one chair in the middle. And each person would have a turn in the middle. And every person in the company would go around the circle and basically tell you what was wrong with you. The purpose was to completely tear you down, tear down your foundation, and then they were going to build you back up in their own image. And I was terrified of this. I don't even know what you would call it, this bizarre ritual. And I luckily didn't have to do it. So I was there for a 2-week trial period, and I was only there for 2 weeks. And I guess once my trial period was over, then I would have to participate in that meeting, which for some reason I never actually got to see. I don't know if I wasn't there on Fridays or what, but somehow they were gonna, if I was a part of the company, they were gonna make me participate. And that, I was terrified. I mean, who wants to be yelled at basically by a bunch of people? And they would yell. They were, they're very like, oh yeah, I keep it real, I tell it like it is, that kind of bullshit. So they wouldn't like give you constructive criticism. They were going to like tear you down. And they were fully open about that. And it was for your own damn good. I mean, basically cults are abusive relationships. There's a person in charge and there's a person not in charge. And the person in charge decides, the standards, and you never reach those standards really. But you feel like you need them. And to some extent they need you because, who else is going to follow them around or listen to their nonsense? And so it is I've seen cultish behavior in all sorts of circumstances. I've seen it in families, I've seen it in couples, I've seen it in companies. Cults are everywhere, really. There's cultish behavior everywhere. However, the word cult is thrown around a lot. Okay, so basically with this company, I had a bad feeling about them right away. And thank God I said something to my friend who had an interest in cults. Yes, there are people like that, and I became one of those people. So I was telling her about my new job and how weird it was, and right away she's like, "Ooh, girl, like there is something wrong here. This is definitely not a healthy situation." And she went online and was searching for, information on this organization and the company and found stuff. There were other people out there who were saying, there's something kind of weird about this company, and I don't know, it's kind of strange. And of course, people from the company were there online saying, "What are you talking about? That's nonsense. We're like the most non-cultiest people to roam the earth. How dare you?" Red flag. And So definitely where there was smoke, there was fire. And so thank God she was like, girl, you got to get out of there. And I did. But the funny thing was, so I was only there for 2 weeks and thought they were all full of shit. But at the same time, in that short amount of time that I was there, they had fostered this sort of feeling in me of this group think, this group feeling. And so when I left, I felt that I was letting the group down, which was so weird. So even though my eyes were fully open to their strange behavior, their tactics had in a way worked for me in that I was afraid of disappointing the group. And even though I thought they were all crazy. And then I found out that one of the girls from the company lived a few blocks from my apartment at the time. And so I would see her on the street and I would be terrified. Like she was gonna see me and report me back to the group. And, like, I don't know what consequences I had dreamed up, but I would literally have this visceral feeling of terror seeing her like walk down the street and stuff. And it took me a while to get over that feeling. It was so weird. That was after 2 weeks. So like, imagine if you're in any longer than that, how deep you would have to get, or how deep you would get into their way of thinking and falling into line with their weird habits and stuff. And there was a part of me that believed them, that I thought I did need to be broken down because, people who get lured into cults they tend to be susceptible. They tend to think that there's something not quite right with them that the group is going to fix. And so, I was a youngin' out of college and please, I still think there's stuff wrong with me. And if you don't, that's kind of a problem too. If you think you're perfect, that's kind of you're probably going to start your own cult at that point. But I thought these people were going to somehow fix my issues. And there must have been a part of them that recognized that I thought I had issues that needed to be fixed. And so they sort of zeroed in on me. Even though I didn't feel like I was a good fit. Maybe that's what made me a fit in their eyes, that they're like, oh, she wants to be fixed. So good thing we're here to help her. So after that, I developed this, along with my friend, I developed this intense interest in cults, and like I studied them and watched them and stuff. So the word cult gets thrown around a lot in the beef sector, and I have to say it's not without merit. Actually, I didn't mention it in my video about, go-to insults about on the beef sector, and I think that's one that gets bandied about a lot. And I think, and just like the mental illness one, I think that's one that gets repeated for a reason. The thing is, though, I've definitely noticed cultish behavior in groups, but the thing is, a lot of the time, I don't see the cultish behavior coming from the supposed leader of the group. I see it coming from the other people in the group. So I'm not going to say, well, there's a huge exception. There's one big exception. We might all know who I'm thinking of, but I think that was definitely, that organization, that group was definitely run like Scientology, and that they collected information on you. And once you were out, that information was going to be out right along with it. But other groups that I see that are called cults and stuff, I see a lot of that behavior coming from the others in the group. Now, if the main person, the head person, leader, is aware of it, I don't know. I don't know if they're always aware of it. And if they are aware of it, what can you do to stop it? Are you going to tell? There are people who sort of try to get ahead of it and say, we're not a cult here and we don't, I'm going to let you. Well, I'm going to let you. That sounds weird in itself, but I don't mind if you go to so-and-so in some place that I don't approve of. You can only say so much, but at the same time, let's say you have a bunch of people who are following you and listening to your every word and stuff. And supporting you emphatically. I mean, are you necessarily going to turn that behavior away? Are you going to turn those people down? Are you going to dissuade them from that behavior if it benefits you? I mean, that's easier said than done, really. You know, you don't always look a gift horse in the mouth. So if all these people want to help you and support you and stuff, it's hard to say no to that. So yeah, I would say the accusation of cultish behavior is valid, but it's not always the supposed cult leader's fault. And when I talk about cult behavior, it's that feeling of when they're opposed to critical thinking. If you question anything, you get, at the very least, side-eyed, or your people call you a troll. And you could have been there all along for months, years, whatever, and you have an opposing opinion, and man, people will let you have it. I think if you're in a group and you're afraid to give an opposing opinion, I think that's a sign that something is not quite right. If you sort of know, if it's unspoken, but you sort of know the rules of what you can and cannot say, and you're afraid to say something, or if you are afraid to appear in a different person, possibly opposing group's chats, I think that's a sign of something. It's not, I mean, I guess some people can interpret that as, well, you're just a punk or whatever, and you're a coward, I guess. But I think people know how to behave to sort of, fit in with groups or, fall in line. People generally want to be accepted and stuff, and people know what to do not to be rejected. And if you feel on some level that that's going to cause rejection from your group, I think that's a sign that there is an issue there. And I think when people call that out, I think that's legitimate. But then I've been on the other side of things where it seems like we're all on the same page with something in a live, and the chat seems to be all on the same page, and it seems obvious that what is being said is right and correct, and some other person comes in and with an opposing opinion that just seems so far-fetched and wrong. I can also understand, wanting to call that person a troll or wanting to call them out or something, or being suspicious of their motives. Yeah, I can see that too. I was actually looking at a list of like what's considered a cult. There's actually, obviously there are a lot of criteria and stuff. Some of the ones that I noticed were like, there's opposition to critical thinking. Any kind of skepticism gets pointed out, or at the very least, you get a look from it. There's isolating or penalizing members for leaving. I don't see that a lot. Not just the fact that someone left. I don't see that being a problem. I don't know. That's not in my personal experience. I've never seen that. If someone leaves and makes a bunch of videos, inflammatory videos about their previous group, then yeah, that definitely gets called out and noticed. But literally just leaving or disappearing or whatever, I don't think that's an issue. Whereas like in Scientology, if you don't come to a class or don't give enough money, on their weekly schedule, then they're going to come find your ass. Groups tend to cause you to dissolve other ties, like with your family and friends. They isolate you. I haven't seen that, although that one particular group, I wouldn't be surprised if those people were isolated from family or friends, especially if those family or friends had anything negative to say about the group. Conspiracies about the outside world. I don't see any groups that have conspiracies about the general outside world, but I see definitely conspiracies about other groups in the beef sector. They're coming to get us. They're going to dox us. Who was I listening to the other day? There was someone who had, it sounded exhausting. They had all sorts of thoughts and feelings about, you say one thing, they've already doxed you. They already know what your family's names and addresses are. I mean, I don't know if this person actually believed it, but man, that sounds tiring to think that, one wrong move and someone's already got your family's addresses. Yes, obviously doxing is very popular. But it's not something that happens to everyone every time, every day. It takes some build up to that point, although the build up to doxing seems to get shorter and shorter, and that's sort of the go-to recourse for a lot of people now.